Alright, time for another FAQ. Not done one of these for a very long time, so it's definitely time to do one. So for those new to the channel, I do have original music out under the name Shadow Mantra. It's a solo project at the moment, very much a studio project, but yeah, I have an EP and I also have an album out in all your typical streaming places, so Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, YouTube, etc. So if you want to check that out, have a look for it, look up Shadow Mantra, and the EP is called Masks, and let me know what you think of it. Anyway, on to Q&A. So first we got a question about how I record my covers and go about learning them and my workflow for them. I do have a video up about kind of how I do my covers and recording them. I will link that. It should appear up on one of these sites, I forget which one. General workflow for me though, it's find the song I want to look at. I typically go on Ultimate Guitar to kind of find a tab to start with. I use Guitar Pro a lot, so I'll find a good Guitar Pro tab, use it as my basis. I will then learn the song. I will then compare it to live videos. If there's some live videos, they're the best and most helpful, or any official playthroughs. If I get stuck on certain bits, I will then move the sound over to Logic and try and EQ it and do some other things with plugins to try and isolate the bit that I'm stuck on and slow it down and so on. For drums, it's normally MIDI, so I'll take the MIDI file from a Guitar Pro file, move it over to Logic, run it through Slate Drums, use that as the drums. Bass, I'll normally record myself. I typically single track it but then split into heavy tops, so the distorted top end and then a clean low end. Guitars is normally dual or quad tracking, and then it's just kind of mixing it and trying to make it sound alright. So next up, it's how much did the EP cost to make? I did it all myself, so beyond the costs of obviously instruments and stuff, it didn't cost anything to make. It was just a lot of time. Also asking what do I do beyond music. At the moment I'm doing a lot of kind of crew work and tech work for events. So for events and theatre. For the events, it's kind of quite often lugging the heavy stuff around, so speakers that are 50 plus kilos, setting up your cable runs, that kind of things. Occasionally I'll be on stage helping to kind of get everything plugged in and so on, run the sound desks as well for some gigs sometimes. Theatre work, it's again stage stuff quite a lot, so again bringing in all your sets, helping to put the sets up. Sometimes it's also helping with the sound, setting up sound. So sound in the theatre is pretty different because of all your different speaker layouts and everything, but stage and crew and sound work is kind of what I do outside of this stuff. There's some other bits and pieces I do as well that are not as interesting, bit of gardening, but yeah, mainly sound work and crew work. So when did I start playing guitar and how did I get into it? Started playing quite a while ago now. It's about when I was 14, I think it was 14, and I got my first guitar at 15. It was basically at a friend's house. He'd bought a guitar, handed it to me because I wanted to have a go, and that's the time when Ascendancy was out, and 10,000 is a bit later, but it was, yeah, peak Trivium and Disturbed, System of a Down, so must have been about 05 or 06, somewhere around there, because Hypnotise had just come out, Mesmerise, 05 I want to say. But basically, yeah, starting to get into music at that point in time, handed me a guitar, and we used to spend absolutely hours just playing guitar, trying to learn System of a Down songs, getting completely confused by natural harmonics. We were like, how does this work? You move your hand up, up the neck, but the sound gets higher. Yeah, we eventually realised it was natural harmonics and how all that works. So next up, who made me and how do I thank them? Ding. That would be Mum and Dad, obviously. I'll pass on their thanks. So what do I think about different content? I'm on the fence about some things, like reaction videos. I'm not massively into reaction videos. I don't know, not quite for me. Maybe at some point. Streaming, I want to get into streaming. I need to sort out their setup though, and a couple of logistics there, but it is something I would like to do. I mean, I've got enough songs and learnt enough now that I feel I could do something interesting on that. Reviews, maybe something to get into, but I feel there's the trap of you end up repeating yourself and being like, oh yes, this is a good riff because of this, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Archetype presets, I don't really use Archetype much. I use the free trial version, but apart from that I've been using the good old Lapoo stuff from 10 years ago. Also use the Ignite amp stuff a bit, and I'm kind of looking into a couple of other plugins, but mainly it's Lapoo, the 456, and the Emissary Ignite amps, and then just various different impulses loaded into it, kind of some Marshall ones, some Diesel ones. Ooh, can't remember, some orange ones I think as well. Best way to get out of a guitar rut, you've got a couple of options. I mean, you could just step away for a while and just have a break, because sometimes playing too much you will just get kind of bored. If not, look at different genres or something that you wouldn't usually play. So what did I learn? I recently looked at some Archetype stuff. Never really listened to them, and it's definitely that much more modern sound, whereas I want to say I typically go towards the kind of mid-noughties, early 2010s metal, corey, riff heavy, groovy stuff. So going to something modern, that was kind of interesting. There's some nice stuff to learn from. I mean, even try learning some Foo Fighters or something. Just mix it up really and look at something different. Or pick up bass, have a look at some bass stuff. Just basically try and add a bit of variety in, really. Because you can play the same stuff and it gets really boring. Song I've been really into recently, What a Horrible Night for a Curse, Black Dahlia. So that's kind of throwing me on the route of going down the tech death a bit at the moment, but some interesting stuff there. But yeah, either have a break or mix it up a bit. Top 10 albums, far too many. Let's have a think of some. So definitely Deconstruction, Devin Townsend, Sacrament, Lamb of God. I can't think. Let's have a look. Tesseract, one album, really like that one. Go with Diamond Eyes, Deftones as well. I mean, I don't particularly have like a single Gojira album particularly. I'm going to say either Magma or L'Enfant Sauvage. I kind of came into them a little bit later, around kind of 2010ish, so I was a bit late to the party with For Master Sirius and Way of All Flesh, but yeah, I'm not sure. Every album's got its kind of own good songs. There's not a particular single album that stands out, but we're going to go with either Magma or L'Enfant Sauvage. What else? So we're going to go for Meshuggah, Colosse. Yeah, we'll go for Colosse. But again, there's so many albums where I'm kind of like, yeah, I'd like a bit of any of this really. It's not specific albums. I've lost count, but we'll go with that for now. Am I shred or gent? A little bit more shreddy. I'm a bit more of into shred, but I'm not super into shred. I kind of get a bit bored with it. Gent, again, I get a bit bored with it. There's definitely some good stuff, but there's only so many times you can get interested with hitting a really low note, followed by some high notes, followed by some low notes, followed by some high notes, and it's kind of like, yeah. For me, I kind of listen to songs as a whole and how all the different instruments interact, how the textures interact with each other. So just because one part of it's doing something interesting doesn't mean I find the whole lot interesting. It's everything's got to come together to make it interesting for me. And that's again the shame with shred guitar. It's you hear a fast run of scales and stuff, and you're like, okay, yeah, fine, it's kind of fun. But if you hear it lots and lots and lots, it's again boring. So I need that kind of variety to keep me kind of stimulated with music, which is why I go from everything from kind of Pendulum, Rammstein, Septic Flesh, Flesh God Apocalypse, and then on the complete other spectrum will also be like, oh, I like some Gorillaz and even a bit of Eminem and stuff. So I need the variety sometimes to kind of keep things interesting. But yeah, more probably shred than gent. Dream gear. Good question. Too many things I would like. Currently, I would be interested in trying out some blue guitar stuff. Little pedalboard amps. Also tried out some Granger guitars recently, and they're very nice, which I wouldn't mind getting hands on some of them. Can't decide on plectrums at the moment. I'm trying lots of different ones, but basically I like pointy plectrums that are about a mil to a mil and a half. I would really like a 5-string bass Iceman at some point. I've been after a 5-string Iceman bass for a long time, but never quite found one. But yeah, that'd be fun. Not so much into the headless guitars. I think I like a headstock on it, so yeah. But I plan to at some point get some kind of 7 and 8 string stuff and have a good old play, because I'd like to play some Sugar at some point. But yeah, I think that's all for today. But thank you for watching. Hope you found it a little bit interesting, a bit more insight into some stuff. And if you want me to do some more Q&A, let me know. We can do some more Q&A. If you want me to start streaming, kind of let me know, and I'll see if we can sort that out sooner rather than later. I need to sort some bits out there. Yes, thanks very much. Thanks for watching.